Now, many times when you think of boaters, you think of fun-loving people who enjoy a good time out on the water. But if you've ever been out with a boater at a busy boat ramp or during a busy day when the water's packed, you may see a different side of boating. A side of boaters where people tend to get a little frustrated and a little agitated pretty fast. I mean, it makes sense, especially when you start combining some of the factors you'll deal with on the water. When you start adding heat and frustration, all of a sudden people are going to turn pretty quick from that nice, cool, calm, chill person you know to that guy who will wind up making some mistakes out there on the water, all out of frustration while they're trying to rush. Just like some of the things we're going to witness in this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, of course, in boating, there are some rules and some boating courtesies that we need to apply when we get out there on the water, and you always want to keep these in mind when you go boating, even if you're out boating with your friends. And speaking of boating with friends, that's where we're going to start in our boating courtesies, and that's going to be make sure before you head out on the water to go boating, you know exactly who you're boating with. The last thing you want to do, especially if you're a crew member, is get out there on the water with Tommy from the office, forgetting that Tommy's a little bit more of one of those full send guys. And the last thing you want to do then is put the kids on the tube behind Tommy's boat. Now, another boating courtesy you should look at, especially if you're going out there and going boating with one of your friends, is don't just disappear. Far too often at the end of the day, people will come join us on our boats, and the next thing we know, the second we hit the dock, they're gone, never to be seen again until after the weekend. So if you're going out enjoying somebody else's boat, volunteer to help out at the end of the day, trying to get the boat back onto the trailer, maybe getting the boat cleaned up. Now, another boating courtesy you're going to want to follow is obeying all posted signs and rules. Now, don't get me wrong, not every sign out there on the water is going to be a legal sign, but if you see boats on a dock near a marina, that no wake sign probably is legit. And then, of course, there's one of our favorite courtesies out there on the water, and that's going to be boat ramp courtesy. What this really means is doing things quickly and efficiently down at the boat ramp and not taking too long.
A little tweaker RV. Oh, whoops. That's not how you put it on the trailer, buddy.
Then, of course, another boating courtesy you're going to want to know is just the straight-up rules of the road. Now, yes, rules can vary a little bit depending on where you are, but a lot of times, some of these rules are pretty basic. And especially the rules of right-of-way, you definitely want to know what your local rules of right-of-way are, so you're not out there just running into people at random. Now let me know in the comments below who you think had the right of way here, and if you think that boater's going to pay for that surfboard he just broke. Now, knowing the rules of the road out on the water really is one of the wildest parts of boating, because as you begin boating, you will learn that all of a sudden everybody out there on the water thinks they actually know all the rules of the road, and the longer you boat, the more you learn that most people out there have no freaking clue.
You're interfering with the charter boat making money. You're being recorded. Hear me out. You done talking? When do I get a chance? I'm done listening. When do I get a chance to talk? When can I talk to you? When these paying customers get done their charter, you can come see me and have cover south. How do you know that? Hey, dude, you got the license, right? Are you done talking? Are you? You're gonna give away medicine on us, buddy. You were giveaway, not me. And you know it.
As you can see here, there's obviously some confusion amongst these two about who actually had the right of way, but one thing you need to remember is the number one rule in the water is it's everybody's responsibility to avoid an accident at all costs, so don't be that jerk that tries to hold your line just because you believe you got the right of way. Now, one of the next courtesies you're going to have out there in boating, that's going to be a courtesy check of the boat before you take off. Probably one of the most important parts of boating. Anytime you're getting out on the boat, I don't care, even if you're just going for a few minutes, stop, check all the systems, and check the boat itself and make sure everything looks good before you push off that dock. One thing I will openly admit, in this scene, this crew is a whole lot more calm than I would be with a boat taking on this much water. At least our guy here did the courtesy of not smoking around the fuel dock. He waited till he got to the boat ramp before he started. And this boater decided he was going to do that courtesy of making sure he picked up everything he dropped. When he dropped the anchor, he found another way to get it back up. Now, of course, those courtesy checks should always start before you even hit the water as well. You always want to check all the straps on your trailer and make sure Now, another courtesy you'll want to do if your friend takes you out on his boat is make sure you keep all your stuff neat and tidy and secure. Nothing more annoying as a captain than to bring some friends out on the boat who decide they're going to leave stuff everywhere, and then when things get a little rough or you take off, the next thing you know, that stuff's all over the place, or you're even having to turn around to go fetch somebody's hat. Now, one of the easiest and most common courtesy checks you should ever do before you head out for a day of boating is going to be checking the weather. Now, when I say that, that even means if you're being invited out on somebody's boat or you've booked a charter of some kind, you probably should check the weather before you set foot on that boat. Don't always trust Captain, because Captain, well, he might have a different plan or agenda than you, especially if it's a charter boat of some kind. Well, Captain doesn't get paid if he doesn't go out. So I've found quite often some of these captains will head out in some less than ideal conditions. So what that means is no matter what, whether you're the captain or whether you're the passenger on another vessel, always check the weather before you go, because nobody can decide whether or not you're going out to enjoy a day on the water besides you. But thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up at Broncos Guru on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Annie C Sport Fishing, Sleigh Day SoCal, Top 10 Captains, Captain Izzy, Wild Tight Sport Fishing, Harvester Fishing, Pete Hobbs, Captains on Call, Rolling Dirty Sally, and Adam Coolidge did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.